got some more fun ones for you in our 27th episode. And here are the questions that we're going to look at today. Similar, we're following on like what did Christ do with the Blessed Sacrament? Here's the first question. Whether Christ received and gave to the disciples his impassible body or his passible body. So passible and impassible refer to the ability to suffer. A passible body is something that's able to suffer or to be corrupted, right? Like physically, like to undergo corruption. So it's like you cut off my hand and then my hand decays and blah, it looks bad. Okay, an impassible body is like an angel. Angels, because they're not material, they're not subject to suffering, to physical suffering, they're not subject to change, to corruption, right? A spirit doesn't decay, right? That's not a sensical thing to say, because the kinds of things that decay or corrupt are material, corporeal. Okay, so the question is, does Jesus give his body to his disciples in a way that's corporeal, in a way that can suffer? Not in a way that's corporeal, in a way that can suffer. Because after his resurrection, Jesus' body is incapable of suffering. So the technical word for incapable of suffering is impassible. Impassible. Okay, some people say, you probably can presume this, some people say that Jesus gave to his disciples an impassible body at the Last Supper. Aquinas says, no, but yeah, kind of. That's basically what he says. And this is Aquinas' way of saying, no, but yeah, kinda. Yet there was present in the sacrament, in an impassible manner, that which was passible of itself. For just as that was there invisibly, which of itself was visible. Right? That's basically the same thing as saying, yeah, kind of. Okay, so what does he mean? The body of Jesus is what's present in the Blessed Sacrament in that moment. So when Jesus is at the Last Supper, obviously he's in a passible state. Obviously his body is in a passible state. Why is that such an obvious statement? Because he's about to undergo the passion. He's about to undergo the excruciating suffering of the cross. So it's without doubt that his body at the time of the Last Supper is passible. Therefore, the body that he gives to his disciples is passible, because it's the same body that they see right there in front of them. It's not like it's some abstracted different thing. It's his body that's given to them in a passible manner. However, as I've said a handful of times, because this is what Aquinas keeps hammering, however, Jesus' body is present not under the appearance of his body, which is passible, but under the appearance of bread. Obviously, the bread in itself is passible because, well, it gets digested and corrupted in that sense, not in like a negative sense of corrupted, but it gets digested and changes its appearance, it changes its form when it goes into your body, and your body just digests it like anything else it digests. So it's obviously the accidents of bread and wine are passible, but the substance of Jesus is received in a way that doesn't corrupt or doesn't affect his body. So Aquinas expresses it like this. He says, but Christ's body, according as it is under the sacrament, is not compared with its surroundings through the intermediary of its own dimensions, whereby bodies touch each other, but through the dimensions of the bread and wine. Consequently, it is those species which are acted upon and are seen, but not Christ's own body. So the thing that corrupts is the accidents of bread and the accidents of wine, not the body of Jesus. Okay, so it's for that reason that Aquinas has this kind of pithy and somewhat confusing statement at the very beginning when he says, yet there was present in the sacrament in an impassible way that which was passible in itself, namely the body of Jesus. So the body of Jesus is present in the Eucharist in a way that doesn't by us receiving the Eucharist, we don't corrupt the body of Jesus. We don't hurt the body of Jesus by chewing on the Eucharist. That's basically that's kind of like the payoff of the question. So I know there was actually, like a while ago, people have told me this, like 50 years, 60 years ago, there was a kind of tradition of not wanting to chew on the Eucharist because that would somehow hurt the body of Jesus. And Aquinas would kind of push back against that argument, say that's not actually like a metaphysically sound description or understanding of the Eucharist, because it's not the body of Jesus that we're acting upon when we receive the Eucharist, because he's present under the disguise of bread. So what's being acted upon, which is a way of saying what's changing, the thing that's changing when we receive the Eucharist, well, obviously is ourselves, but the thing that's changing when we receive the Eucharist is the appearance of bread, the accidents of bread. That's obvious because those get digested in a normal way. But what's not being acted upon, what's not being affected, is the body of Jesus himself, because right now it's impassible because it's in heaven, but even at this time when the disciples receive our Lord in the Last Supper, it's present in a kind of uncorrupted mode, uncorruptible mode in the Blessed Sacrament. Okay, that's his answer. Next one. This one's, if you thought that was fun, just buckle up for this one. Whether, if this sacrament had been reserved in a pyx or consecrated at the moment of Christ's death by one of the apostles, Christ himself would have died there. All right. So the question is, hey, if one of the apostles reserved the Blessed Sacrament in a pyx, which is a small sacred vessel in which you reserve the Blessed Sacrament, like to take Holy Communion to the sick or something. So if an apostle had reserved the Blessed Sacrament in a pyx, or if an apostle had celebrated Mass right at the moment of Jesus' death, would Jesus die in the Blessed Sacrament, right? Because remember, the Blessed Sacrament is the body of Jesus. So if you have the Eucharist on Good Friday and Jesus dies on the cross, does Jesus also die in the Eucharist? Okay, I'll give you 2 seconds to think about this. You probably will give me the right answer, which is yes and no. That's generally Aquinas' answer. Let's draw a distinction and say this really precisely. So, this is his answer. Christ's body is substantially the same in this sacrament as it is in its proper species. That's the yes. Christ's body is the same, whether it's in the Eucharist or on the cross. It's Jesus' body. That never changes. It's like, hey, are we talking about Jesus' body in heaven? Or are we talking about Jesus' body in the Eucharist? It's like, well, it doesn't really matter. It's Jesus' body. It's like, it's his body either way. Substantially present, really present, truly present. Okay, that's the yes part. The no part is, but not after the same fashion, because in its proper species, which is his physical body, it comes in contact with surrounding bodies by its own dimensions. Right? So the body of Jesus comes in contact with the nails through his hands, with the crown of thorns on his head. But it does not do so as it is in this sacrament, right? The body of Jesus doesn't come in contact with the nails and the crown of thorns in the Blessed Sacrament. That wouldn't make sense. Therefore, all that belongs to Christ as he is in himself can be attributed to him both in his proper species, that's his physical body, and as he exists in this sacrament, that is, under the appearance of bread, such as to live, to die, to grieve, to be animate or inanimate, and the like. While all that belongs to him in relation to outward bodies, him receiving the nails in his hands and the scourges on his back, right? All that belongs to him in relation to outward bodies can be attributed to him as he exists in his proper species, but not as he exists in this sacrament, such as to be mocked, to be spat upon, to be crucified, to be scourged. Hence, some have composed this kind of beautiful little verse. Our Lord can grieve beneath the sacramental veils, but cannot feel the piercing of the thorns and nails. Okay, again, something really powerful and beautiful is being communicated in what might seem like a fun, abstract theological question. And that truth is that Jesus Christ in the Blessed Sacrament, it is the body of Jesus, and therefore he feels, like he experiences, probably a better word, he experiences the fullness of the human life of Jesus because it's the body of Jesus. So, right, all that belongs to Christ as he is in himself can be attributed to him both in his proper species and as he exists in this sacrament, such as to live, to die, to grieve. So, like when we're communing with our Lord in the Blessed Sacrament, we commune to him in this way, like on the level of his heart. But it's not the case that what's happening to his physical body on the cross is also felt in the Blessed Sacrament. Maybe that, well, hopefully that gives you a little bit of Aquinas' yes and no. Okay, let me read just this one more. Well, maybe I won't read it. I'll try and translate it, basically. He says, whether or not the soul of Jesus is present in the Blessed Sacrament when Jesus is laid in the tomb. So generally speaking, right, we have this true statement that Jesus, kind of formula of Jesus' presence in the Blessed Sacrament, that he's present body, blood, soul, and divinity, right? Body, blood, soul, and divinity. And Jesus's soul is naturally present, co-natural. It's naturally present to his body because that's what it means to be alive. That's what it means to have a body and a soul, and to have the soul exist within the body, to animate the body, to give form and life, vitality to the body. Okay, cool. So Aquinas says, but what about when Jesus dies? Is his soul present? Is his soul present in the Blessed Sacrament? Is his soul present in the body of Jesus? And the answer to that is clearly no. The soul of Jesus is not present after his death in the body of Jesus. Right? The soul of Jesus obviously still exists. But the soul, the human soul of the body of Jesus isn't in his body, because that's like the definition of death, right? The leaving, the separation of the soul and the body. So then, if you had the Blessed Sacrament reserved in a pyx, or you celebrated Mass on Holy Saturday, the soul of Jesus wouldn't be there, for the same reason that the soul of Jesus wouldn't be in his body, because his body is in fact dead. Okay, what Aquinas doesn't say here, which is worth saying though, is that the body of Jesus is still, like the dead body, the cadaver of Jesus is still the dead body of God the Son, with the omnipotence of God the Son, right? So so just because the soul is not present in his dead body doesn't mean that this dead body is nothing. This dead body is still the dead body of God. And that's a tremendous mystery, but it's also something that's worth remembering. And it can also then lead us into an act of adoration when, for example, in the in the crucifix that we all, the crucifix always adorns all of our walls, and most of the time it's the dead body of Jesus that's on the crucifix. And so when we recognize, this is the dead body of Jesus, the soul of Jesus isn't there, but this is still the dead body of God the Son. And that means it still evokes from our hearts, an act of adoration towards God for the great gift of his Son, for your salvation and mine. So there we have it. See you next time.